apparently there's a feral criminal underclass. So what is that, Ken? Anyone under 10 grand a year? I don't know. Should I be going out and getting mugging lessons now? Thanks for damning the lot of us. Some of us are just poor, you know.
I don't know if you can see those cables blowing about up there, but those are the phone cables for this house, and therefore the internet cables for this house. And it's strange, but whenever we get high winds around here, the internet connection gets worse and worse and worse. And at the moment, it's at a total crawl. And it may be because we have to rely on that slightly wobbling post and those cables that are bumping about up there for our connection to go over. I can't think of any other reason that we always get a lousy connection when it's windy. I'll also add that if it's particularly windy and it's been raining a lot recently, note the wetness, but actually the soil underground isn't so bad right now. If it's windy and it's been raining a lot recently, sometimes that post moves and then the whole phone connection goes down. Okay, I'm starting to remember this is actually meant to be a blog, not just the cool bits of my life, not just the funny bits, but actually a blog, me talking about what's going on. So, life update. It's raining. It's actually the remainder of Hurricane Irene, so it's very windy and very rainy. Nothing like what you got across in America. You can keep that, but it's still blowing all kinds of shit over. Dad had a lot of trouble with the round this morning because there had been roadworks all the way along one of the major parts of his round and the road had been closed. Well, they'd taken all the road closed signs down because they'd finished blocking the road yesterday. However, they still had lots of metal fences up along the side of the road, and all these are blowing down and block the road anyway. And unfortunately, they're 7-foot tall steel fences. Dad's nearly 70, and he couldn't lift them, despite being quite strong for a 70-year-old. Anyway, yes, we're having trouble with Hurricane Irene now, although, you know, I'm not panicking or anything. Either way, piling wind, piling rain. I'm not going to get much gardening done today. We're going to try and get some shopping done instead, and I'll be working on my art projects. That's what I do. Today it's the secret project, which I'm not going to tell you about. Spent most of yesterday afternoon, once I'd finished doing my early shift in the shop, messing about with ideas for yet another comic strip project that may or may not ever actually come to pass. If it doesn't, it may be for the best. I don't know. This is quite a cheesy idea, designed to appeal definitely to just particular groups of fans. It started with the fact that we've been watching a lot of wrestling here lately. The girls are very much into wrestling, particularly very large men in small pants, and Kane. I'm also into wrestling, but more sort of technical wrestling, you know, tying people up in knots, that sort of thing, actual fighting stuff, and less so about the storyline. So I don't get on too well with WWF, although I do think DX are funny, and Kane, and The Undertaker, because let's face it, you really shouldn't take them seriously. Anyway, yes, I'm really an old WCW type, old school WCW, when they just wrestled each other and didn't go around shouting and going, "Ah, you suck," and stuff. And will someone tell John Cena to stop doing poetry? He's really crap at it. Anyway, so wrestling, lots of it going on. Had idea do a few big pictures of sort of big wrestlers putting off high action wrestling moves from intense angles, that sort of thing. And then I realised that I'm better at drawing women, so it'd have to be female wrestlers, but I still want them to be, you know, quite buff female wrestlers, proper ones like China, and, you know, ones that actually look like they could lift someone up. And then, because I'm a dirty furry at heart, that sort of came an idea, female furry wrestlers. And then, because really only horses work for this, I thought equine furry wrestlers. So I created the idea of a promotion called the EBW, the Equine Babes Wrestling. And I thought I'd do a few pictures based on that. So I've jotted down a few ideas, and then it turned into an idea for a whole comic strip series, stroke graphic novel, and that's been developing all yesterday. Here's a nice radical suggestion. Well, it's radical compared to the way we've been doing things in this country recently. For the last few decades, the whole idea has been a mobile workforce. Because let's face it, the bosses are in charge. Well, now we've got to start thinking about the people again. Society itself. We're talking about this big society. Well, let's prove it. We've got to create communities again. This is obviously showing itself to be important. To do that, you've got to have a stable population. You've got to have people that are attached to a place that have been there for a while. If you can have people living in the same place all their lives, that's a good thing for that place. You've got people who care about it, who have links all around, who have networked all around, who will bring other people into those networks, and who will keep social activities going and build on them over time. Also, if people stay in the same place the whole time, it means that they'll be there with their family, and when members of their family get to a point where for one reason or another they can't work or they need a bit of looking after, they will have family there to help them. This again is useful, and even if there's not family about, as people get older they will have made contacts in the community who will look after them. This really makes a difference. Now, the question is, how do you achieve that? We've been going for this mobile workforce. We've been getting it the wrong way round. We need to make sure the work goes to the people and the houses. We've been building houses in the southeast because that's where the work is. We should be moving the work to where the people are and then building the houses where the people are as well. Now obviously you can't do that with all jobs. Certain skilled labour jobs of a small population, well, you can't have everyone spread all over the country for that. You have to bring them together. Okay, fair enough. This is not a universal answer for everything. Plus people will go off to universities and sometimes they just won't come back. They'll find a community in a university town more to their liking, and other people will move for other reasons. This isn't a ban on travel. But with telecommuting and with the fact that you can put factories for less skilled manual labour out where the people are, you've got an opportunity to start building communities again. Also, if you build up particular skill bases in a particular area, you can even have relatively skilled labour without people moving about the country. Engineers of engineers, they will find that they will get interested in whatever engineering is going on near them. If you've got a major car building area, you'll get a lot of car building engineers in that area just by the very nature of that's the interesting techie stuff going on. If you've got shipbuilding or plane building or whatever, you know, particular kinds of engineering, wind farm building, you know, these places will congregate together in particular places. We've got to make sure the places where these businesses end up being based are spread around the country evenly, so every region of the country has a particular engineering skill that the engineers can flock to without having to all head to the southeast. This way, you can actually build communities. This is what's going wrong. So what you've got to do is this. Firstly, you've got to move the work to where the people are. Secondly, you've got to make sure there are enough houses for people to live in, especially in small communities like the one I live in, where quite frankly, if you're not rich, you have to leave because there's no way you can afford to live here. I'm getting to that point. you've got to, when you build new houses, you've got to make sure that some of them are put over for rental, and perhaps even take the extreme measure of saying rental of these houses will be first offered to people from the locality or who have family in the locality. This will keep community going. Maybe even when houses are built, you have to say first choice of selling these houses at a slightly cheap. Some of these houses have to be sold at a slightly cheaper rate to people from the locality before you try selling them to anyone else. Not all of them, you know, some houses at the national rate, you'll always have some people trying to move into an area and you can't stop them. But you've got to focus on trying to keep the people that are there and want to stay there. The people that don't want to stay there won't. We're not going to try and stop them. It's a radical solution, but it's good for community in this country. And we're seeing that we need that now. For the less skilled section of the workforce, you actually need to have work all over the country to suit the amount of population that is going to... Hello. Yeah. Okay, let's be honest. Normally, when there's an episode of Doctor Who that's meant to be scary, I find it a little bit disappointing. I remember The Hollow Child. That was genuinely very scary, I thought. Anyway. But then they said, oh, Doctor Who can do scary. And then every series there'd be one that was meant to be like the terrifying episode. And the Weeping Angels were just so not scary to me. And then every series there'd be something that's meant to be really scary, and I'd sit there and not be scared. I've enjoyed the episode. It's Doctor Who, they're good fun, but not scary. This season, they got it right. I don't know whether this was meant to be the scary one. I didn't bother reading the write-up in the Radio Times this season. But Night Terrors is scary.